In the midst of the allegations being made against iMalex, people have started looking at his friends with heightened suspicion. When Alice first made her statement about her experience with iMalex when they were in a relationship, some of his friends immediately took to social media to speak out about this and against him, claiming that they had no knowledge of what was going on. One person from this friend group, though, has received a lot more backlash. This is iNabber. Now, I'm convinced that every single person in my audience knows who iNabber is, but if you don't, he is an English commentary creator. He makes longer videos about creators, people like Jojo Siwa or Gabby Hanna, Colleen Ballinger, and his most recent video was 5 hours long. I had made it my mission, by the way, to get through that entire video, but so far I've only gotten through an hour and a half of it because I just never have any time to do anything. But you get the gist anyway of his content, and for the most part iNabber has been pretty unproblematic. Not many people have had bad things to say about him, although of course it is the internet, people are always going to say bad things. But this changed when his ex put up a thread on Twitter about him after Alice came forward with her allegations about iMalex. This thread is somewhat a response to iNabber's statements about iMalex, so before we go over it, I want to just briefly touch on the statements that iNabber made. And if you're unaware of the iMalex situation, I would recommend that you check out the video in the description so that you can catch up, because otherwise none of this is gonna make sense. I mean, maybe it'll make sense if you were really smart and could piece this together, but I'm not really smart, so I wouldn't have been able to piece it together if I didn't know. Back when Alex was living with the people he lived with, I didn't really speak to him much. Dude kind of went MIA other than YouTube stuff, as he had a new set of friends, which was pretty normal. Only summer year, Alex started properly interacting with us in a server to play games. I've always been friends with him. Seen Alex about once since 2023. The dude never discussed personal stuff with us, lol, solely just YouTube and games. Then he shares a screenshot of a conversation between himself and somebody else talking about iMalex and Alice. And he says this was March last year when we thought they were still together or seeing each other. We suspected they kept breaking up, then trying to work on things when refollowing each other and unfollowing, but the man never wanted to discuss it with us ever. Literally zero idea what was going on, a refusal to talk about it, but no indication of the true extent. They were still making videos together, as was him and his old friend group, until early 2024, so really had nothing to go off. When I saw that tweet in April, I called him and was told about their toxic relationship. And from there to now, I and others were trying to work out what the hell was going on. With this Alice situation, I was personally kept in the dark on it for such a long time. I think what makes me feel truly guilty is I genuinely thought those two were really happy together until me and friends saw signs they kept falling out via unfollows and TikTok reposts. I know even before this situation, Alex has been involved in a lot of stuff, but I've always been loyal to him as a friend and tried to stick by him, even if he was perceived as a dickhead by a great many of people. Me and that man used to argue and fall out a lot, but last year when we started playing games together, I genuinely thought he was becoming a much better person and a happier person, and I thought that was because he had finally settled down with someone, and that thought now makes me feel ill and an overwhelming amount of guilt. Me and Alex had a very toxic friendship. I would prefer to keep that part private for the most part, but with all these clips, recordings, messages in the document, I read them for the first time this week too, and that makes me feel more sick. The fact I got zero honesty even in the end. Whole thing is just awful, and again, nothing but my support goes out to Alice. When asking for DMs, Alex told me he had, proving his innocence, he refused. Just showing these to prove literally from slightly seeing rumors, I confronted him straight away. I know that I'm changing the wording slightly here, but in a lot of these, the grammar and the spelling is just all over the place, so I'm just reading it the way that makes the most sense to my mouth. I hope that's okay. I'm not like changing the meaning or anything. And another thing I haven't spoken about is how when I confronted Alex, he shaped himself out to be a victim, putting a lot of pressure on me because he was trying to convince me how this whole story is out of context and a lie. From the moment I heard his story, I stopped making podcasts with him. I deleted every podcast with him a month ago because I just didn't believe his story. As I said, I've had a toxic friendship with Alex. We've had so many fallings out and fights. I'd say we stayed friends for YouTube reasons, but over the years I've been in a few second channel videos with him, and after the e-boy situation, I think it was very obvious we just had a toxic friendship. I look back on a lot of it now and realize how much bullshit there was, and I'm honestly quite embarrassed how I've never personally addressed that to myself. And he shares proof from Social Blade that he did delete the podcast episodes. The only thing I ever heard about Alex was rumors his roommates and him fell out, and they wrote down the shit he said about them. And that was earlier last year. They all continued making content together, and then he moved in with Alice. So I just thought everyone in his circle was cool with him. There was a few more in there, but the gist of it, you pretty much got it. He's just saying that he knew that there was some issues in the relationship, but never knew what Alex was doing to Alice or the extent of just how bad it was, and also touches on his own toxic friendship with Alice, which was actually something I had heard about a while ago from somebody else, and it was one of the reasons I ended up stopping watching I'm Alex, because I heard about that situation and then the whole Slazo thing, and I just didn't want to watch him anymore, and then all of this stuff with Alice came out. But anyway, after he posted his statement on Instagram stories about Alex, his ex posted on Twitter about him. I never knew what Alex was. He would often comment how he was an awful person and even labelled Alex a narcissist himself. Everyone knew what a disgusting person Alex was and is. Pretending you were in the dark is inexcusable. He knew about the untrue allegations Alex made against Charlie because he was the one that told me when we were still together. He didn't speak about it like it was a rumour, he spoke about it like it was fact. I spoke to Charlie about it in August. While I don't believe that anyone knew the full extent Alex was treating Alice, everyone knew Alex was a narcissist prior to Alice's statement from how he treated literally everyone else. He's cold and malicious in ways there is no way anyone can deny. Alex was an extremely toxic friend to Fraser, along with so many others, and as someone who once loved him, it was hard to watch, but Fraser admitted to me that he put up with it because being friends with Alex benefited him in his work. Fraser is also a very calculated person. Manipulation and lying come so easy to him, it is disturbing. He is not the same, but not far different from Alex behind closed doors. What I experienced in my relationship with Fraser is something I am still working through to this day in therapy. I will not be putting out a detailed statement because my situation is something I would like to heal from in private without the input from strangers online. What I do feel comfortable to say is that the way I was treated drove me to a suicide attempt in June of 2023, back when I was still living with him. Suicidal thoughts and tendencies is still something I'm struggling with because of that relationship and struggling to heal properly. I also got diagnosed with chronic stress from how he treated me. I experienced and continue to experience hair loss, extreme daily nausea and vomiting, insomnia, and debilitating migraines from all the emotional implications of that relationship. The physical and mental implications I have from that relationship is again why I will not be disclosing what I went through. It's still very raw and I do not wish for my past traumas to be pulled apart like I have seen done to Alice. I have such deep empathy for Alice, and coming forward with her experience was an incredibly brave and strong thing to do. I wish her nothing but happiness and healing from the truly awful things she had to endure, along with all of the other people Alex maliciously treated. When this made its way to Twitter, people all over were talking about it. It was all that I was seeing in my timeline, along with stuff to do with I'm Alex. So because of this, iNabber responded in his own Google Doc, and in that he shares a lot of screenshots and insight into his relationship. Her statement starts off very strong. She says, I never knew what Alex was. So she ended up correcting herself saying, sorry there's a bit of confusion with my wording, so I just want to clear up that I was saying Fraser knew the type of person Alex is, and not that he knew Alex was abusing Alice. I was angry that he was making her situation about himself and acting defensive, when this should have nothing to do with him. Really sorry if my words were not clear in that. So off the bat, we have it here that he didn't know what was going on with Alice, and she admits that. And even in his own original thread, he had said that he had a toxic relationship with I'm Alex, and that he knew bad things about him, but he thought he was becoming a better person. So this seems to line up with what she's saying here. And I want to read you exactly what iNabber says about her statement, saying that he's a calculated person, manipulation and lying come easy to him. and that he's not far different from Alex behind closed doors. He says, firstly, to suggest I'm not far different from Alex behind closed doors is an absolutely wild allegation. Alex, based on texts, was regularly telling Alice to kill herself, calling her a whore and multiple other abusive things. Yes, me and Kirsty had arguments like any other couple, but it never got to that. Now this is where we get to June 2023. This is what I'm very confused about, and I understand is a serious allegation, as she's blaming me for a attempt that month. Now I know Kirsty has depression and does absolutely have real struggles that I'd never deny, but I have struggled to find any reference to that in her texts. Here's some screenshots of me searching for texts related to what I could find. In May of 2023, she went and picked things up from her old flat, and I went there after and found a note which pretty much was her saying she didn't realize at the time how she appreciated our relationship, and just in general that she had a lot of regrets. It was a really lovely letter, and in these texts he is telling her about the letter and she responds to that. He also goes on to show some screenshots from June when they weren't talking very much. Obviously at this point they had broken up, but in these there doesn't seem to be any kind of indication that there was anything particularly wrong between them, besides obviously being broken up, like that is something wrong between them, but nothing like what was happening between Alice and I'm Alex. What's important to note here is that after they broke up, he says that they lived together for several months because she didn't have somewhere else to live. So obviously that would be an extremely stressful situation for both of them to be in, to have to live with your ex. That sounds absolutely horrific. And apparently it's something that's happening a lot more now. I was listening to a podcast the other day and there was couples who were getting divorced who had to continue living with each other because the Irish housing situation is just so bad that they can't afford to move out. So they have to live with the person that they're divorcing. It's absolutely ridiculous. So this is, like I said, understandably a very stressful situation for anybody to be in, and it probably did put quite a lot of stress on her. But from the text that iNabber shows in this document, there doesn't seem to be any indication that he was causing her any stress in particular, just that the situation was causing her stress. And unfortunately for her case, she hasn't shared any evidence of her own. She's just made somewhat vague accusations against him that can't be backed up by anything, some of which had to be backtracked on. Like I said, she had to clarify that iNabber didn't know what was happening between Alex and Alice, even though she somewhat implied that, and that she had to confirm, no, Fraser did not physically touch me. When I say the physical implications, I mean the implications of the chronic stress symptoms. So here's the problem, and I'm not ever one to just say this doesn't line up, this doesn't seem right. You guys know me, I try and be fair and take everything into account, but the issue is that she has said some very, very damning stuff. After the allegations that came out about I'm Alex, she said that iNabber is not far off from Alex. Now what I'm Alex did was insult, berate, abuse, and physically hurt his girlfriend. So when somebody says something like that iNabber is not far off from I'm Alex, just after those allegations have dropped, the average person is going to see that and assume that iNabber was equally as. But what we found out so far is that she has confirmed he did not physically hurt her in any way, that he didn't actually know what was happening between Alex and Alice, and the only texts that have been shared or any kind of evidence is from iNabber's side, and all of those look lovely and normal. She has shared nothing. All that seemed to have really been going on here was a very, very stressful situation. But again, to reiterate, all that we can say here is that the situation was stressful, not that he was doing anything to her like what Alex did to Alice. The only concrete accusation that she has made against him is in a TikTok. Now, I can't play the audio for you because it's copyrighted, but it's Sabrina Carpenter's Please, Please, Please. The lyrics are something like, I know you want some fresh air, but the ceiling fan is so nice. And to that she says, maybe my ex was just channeling Sabrina when he would shut me in a room for hours, not allowed to make any noise, and would shout at me for flushing the toilet. So again, this implies that he physically locked her in a room. But according to iNabber in his document, all this actually amounts to is that when he was recording a video, he would ask her to be quiet, or if she could maybe go out and walk the dog. That was it. And that is very normal. When I'm recording, I ask my girlfriend to be quiet. Because you have to. My cat meows for me when I'm in here because she wants to come in here and cuddle me, and so I've had to close the door on my cat with my girlfriend in there and ask, can you mind her so that I don't have extra noise? Can you please be quiet? Before, when we lived in a smaller apartment and I would record in the living room, I had to be like, please, please, shush, can you leave the room? Can you leave? If possible, just don't make noise. In the same way that if you live with somebody who works from home and they have a meeting, they're gonna ask you, can you be quiet because I have a meeting? That's a very, very normal thing to do. And if that's all this was, but she's trying to frame it as he's shutting her in a room and like actually her, then there is something really, really off here. And to be honest, the whole thing is not adding up. And like I said, I'm not somebody who normally doubts people on first glance, but there's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing here. And I know that sounds like a terrible thing to say, but if I can't see any evidence of anything, then am I just supposed to assume the worst? And in fact, a former friend of Kirsty has also made a thread on Twitter. Kirsty and I have not been friends for a while, mainly silently unfollowing because she slept with my ex while we were still together, comforted me when I was heartbroken, and then did it again. I was in London with Alex and his editor at the time. I was dating the editor. The thread has since been deleted, but in it she was detailing how Kirsty would often lie about people in what is seemingly a pattern of behavior that is mimicking what she has alleged here. Now, this is not to say that she's lying, but this is what this ex-friend is alluding to. So to be honest, this whole situation is just a bit fishy, and it has unfortunately taken attention away from the very, very serious situation that has come out about I'm Alex and his exes and the way that he treated them. As of now, it looks like iNabber has cleared his name, so unless any actual evidence comes out, that seems to be how it's gonna stay. So how about we put our focus back on the place that it matters. That's gonna be it from me for now though. Let me know in the comments what you thought about all of this, and if you leave me a comment and let me know. Oh my god, my brain died. If you were an alien, what kind of alien would you be? I am definitely one of those watery ones, or like just like a grey or something, but I think one of the watery ones, although I do have my little grey alien here, so you know, there is that. But also please do subscribe. That really helps me a lot if you subscribe. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. In the description, you'll find links to lots of stuff that you can check out. There's my socials, there's Patreon, there's merch, there's all the stuff that you would expect to find in a YouTuber's description, as well as links to all of the statements and everything that you need to read. There was a lot more in iNabber's statement, so if you want to read it, you can. There was some things in there that I just thought maybe didn't need to be read out. They seemed a bit personal, and I feel bad for everybody involved that they had to be aired out, so I just kind of decided to not touch on them. But if you want to read the full thing, as of now it is up. He said he might delete this, but I don't know, so there it is if you want it. Anyway, like, comment, share, do all the things that I'm supposed to ask you to do at the end of the video, and have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. I will see you in the next one. Bye! Hey, so just a quick note to say that since I made this video, new information has come out, including new allegations. So I'm going to be going over all of that in another video. Stay tuned for that.